Cracking. So it's a clickbaity kind of title, The Rage, but I think it's very important. Okay, so the rage was what we used to call when you got really drunk and you got angry. That's what we used to call it in high school. And not only was it that common that we had a name for the rage, but we used to take turns. So if someone lost their job or, got a talking to by their parents or something, we'd be like, I think it's his turn tonight. That was like a thing, right? So it was his turn. And you sort of couldn't have two people do it at the same time because everyone sort of has to look after whoever's got the rage, right? So that was the thing. And, even if we were trashing like fences or smashing phone booths or whatever, and like one of my mates, he had a sledgehammer for smashing phone booths. It was always kind of one person was the instigator. So one person had the rage and everyone else was like sort of along for the ride that night. Okay. So, as I got older, I realized that it's not cool. Like having the rage is not cool. But I sort of was more able to grasp what the deal was. So when you're repressing your anger all the time and when you're nice all the time, it's building up and it's seething inside you. And a lot of the social justice stuff we see these days is from, repressed bitterness and stuff and not saying stuff at the time, and then the anger builds up and you have to get it out at some stage. So that's part of the reason I don't drink is because of the rage, right? That's part of the reason. Hey Mark, how's it going? You know what the rage is. I've seen you rage down a bunch, you hooligan. We see that double punch Hadouken thing all the time. Mark Madden, he's a hooligan. So anyway, we used to get the rage and we'd take turns. So I was talking to one of my clients today and he's like full gangster. He's like such a hooligan. Like, in fact, we had a small break because we got into a scuffle out the back of a bar and I like double-legged him and he hurt his hand. But he's a legend, all right? So one of the reasons I really respect this dude is because like there's no bullshit with this guy. No bullshit with him, all right? And like I don't have to hide any of my like scumbag gangster shit because he's a fucking full-blown scumbag gangster. Does not give a fuck, right? Anyway, so he was like, dude, what's up? Like, how do you not drink and not get the rage and shit? And I was like, first of all, I've done a lot of work on myself, so I don't have as much rage anymore. But secondly, like, I think that I have learned to channel it healthily, which is why I'm making this fucking video, all right? Is what are some healthy things you can do with that pent-up anger if you can't take it up with the correct person, all right? And one of the things I've read that's a common gripe with some of these social justice movements is like that the anger's directed sort of generally, but not at the correct person, okay? And that's why it's unsatisfying, is because the anger needs to be directed at the correct person and like probably in a constructed setting where someone's mediating the anger being discussed, all right? So this is what therapy's for anyway, if you're into that sort of thing. Anyway, so things you can do with the rage instead of like getting drunk and offloading it. It's a conversation we had today. So first of all, martial arts. This is my personal opinion, so take it or leave it. I think that every sport is a watered down version of fighting. Like, I think that when you stand there and you're fighting another person, that is the full capacity of your emotions, your intent, and what your body's capable of. And that, like, all of these rules, like, okay, so that person's got the ball, so that person has to stand over there, is just watered down versions of, like, attacking each other, all right? That's just my personal take on sports, and there's nothing like it. If you do MMA or kickboxing or something, and you know it's like to fight someone, and then you go play badminton, it's just like, after Fight Club, everything is at a much lower volume, all right? This is what that's about. So I recommend that, but same deal, sports. At all. A lot of people use them for that reason, to get out the pent-up stress and frustration of their lives. So channeling it into an extroverted channel is totally a thing. And I've got a video where I interview some kids. I'll link that shortly. I interviewed some kids about what they do with their anger, and one of the kids is like, I just try to like go off and distract myself or go away from my brothers who annoy me and try to extrovert, try to focus on something else, right? The other way is to go internally and do that internal work, which can cost, $200 an hour to sit with a a qualified therapist and work on that stuff. Where does the exact anger come from? Who is it specifically directed at? Do you need to talk to that person? Can you resolve that internally? That internal work. And then the other stuff is because I'm a Kung Fu guy, like we did years and years and years of breathing. My good friend Koi Tran, who's a Qigong master, and like he can actually do that yellow bamboo stuff where like he'll Hadouken you and you'll fall over. Shout out to Koi Tran. But seriously, don't mess with him. Like he will just, and you will just, it's totally a thing, right? But Qigong and meditation and stuff, that has totally worked for me. That has totally like quelled my rage. And you know those like old people in the park doing that, like not only is it to quell their rage, but it keeps you like young, you know. It makes your muscles relaxed, your joints lubricated, and you know this like cultivating the gentle way is like totally a thing. It'll actually make you a better fighter as well, because instead of trying to impose your technique on the other person, you can kind of feel what they're doing, and it's like, oh, okay, sweet, I'm going to use that energy against them, which is what makes a good judoka. It's what Aikido is about, and Wing Chun. All of these styles are yin styles where you're supposed to use your opponent's force against them, right? You can't do that if you're not listening, right? It's also like sexual thing as well, is like feeling the other person's energy and then going with that. You know, this is totally a skill as opposed to just trying to do something, you know? So the yin-ness is something that most people don't like touching on, the being vulnerable and being receptive. But it's the path to less rage, all right, is to cultivate this yin stuff. And it doesn't have to be in a way that makes you look weak or whatever. Like, you know, first of all, weakness is subjective. You know, it's only weak if you call it weak. But I highly recommend ultra-violence and cultivating inner peace, all right? So namaste, bitches. Do what you got to do.